The groom vanished hours before the ceremony, leaving silence where a future was supposed to begin until a stranger appeared at the door holding two newborns who carried the truth he'd never spoken aloud. Laina woke before dawn, unsure if it was the sunlight or the excitement rising in her chest that pulled her from sleep. For a moment, she simply lay there, listening to the quiet hum of the house. The air felt soft and warm, like it had been holding its breath with her. She smiled into her pillow as she realized this was the day she had imagined 100 different ways. She whispered, almost shyly, "It's finally happening." Saying it aloud made her heart flutter. She moved through the house slowly, letting herself enjoy every familiar creak and morning shadow. Her mother was already in the kitchen, fussing over details no one else would notice. "You should eat something," she said, even though her voice trembled with joy. "I will," Laina replied gently, though her stomach was too full of butterflies to cooperate. She leaned against the counter, watching her mother pretend not to tear up. "It feels like yesterday you scraped your knees running through this house," her mother said with a laugh that dissolved too quickly. "Don't start," Laina whispered, smiling. "If you cry, I'll cry. And if I cry, the makeup artist will just quit." Her mother laughed again, steadier this time, and placed a warm hand on her cheek. "He's a good man," she said. "Jonah loves you in that quiet way that lasts." Laina nodded because she believed it too. Jonah had never been loud about his feelings. His love showed up in softer places, thoughtful text, gentle smiles, the way he listened like every word mattered. She often told him he had an old soul, and he would shrug like he didn't deserve the compliment as the morning stretched on. People drifted in and out of the house. Bridesmaids filled the hallway with laughter. Her father kept checking the time even though he insisted he wasn't nervous. The florist arrived earlier than expected, apologizing even as she carried in armfuls of flowers. There was a pleasant chaos to it all, the kind that made the world feel full. Lina's phone buzzed repeatedly with congratulatory messages. She tapped out replies, smiling at the love pouring in. Then another message appeared, this one from Jonah's best friend, Marcus. "Hey, can you call me? It's urgent." Her fingers hesitated. Marcus wasn't the dramatic type. She stepped away from the chatter, walking into a quieter room before hitting call. He answered immediately. "Laina," he said, breathless in a way that made her chest tighten. "What's wrong?" She asked. "Is Jonah with you?" "No, he left early this morning. He said he needed to pick something up before the ceremony." Silence stretched long enough to feel like a warning. "Marcus," she whispered. "Tell me what's going on." "I'm at his place," Marcus said quietly. "His car is here. His phone is here." The door was unlocked. Her heartbeat grew sharp and uneven. "Maybe he went for a walk," she said, though the words felt thin. "I thought that too," Marcus replied. "But his wallet is here. His keys are here. Everything is here except him." The room tilted. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. "No," she said firmly, trying to hold the world steady. "He wouldn't just disappear. Not today." "I know," Marcus said. "That's why I called." She stayed on the phone, but her mind drifted to Jonah's gentle smile, the way his hands shook when he was nervous. He had been quiet the past week, more distracted than usual. When she asked him about it, he always brushed it off. "Just tired," he said. "Just work." She accepted the answer because she trusted him, because love made her believe in simple explanations. Now, she wasn't so sure. Her family noticed the change in her expression the moment she stepped back into the living room. Her mother touched her arm. "Is everything okay?" Laina forced a nod. "He's not answering his phone," she said softly. "Marcus can't find him." A ripple of concern traveled through the room. Voices lowered. Movement stilled. The joyful chaos faded into a cautious quiet. Her father put a hand on her shoulder. "He'll show up," he said, though worry creased his brow. Maybe he needed time to clear his head. "On our wedding day?" she asked, her voice cracking. He didn't respond. As the hours passed, hope became harder to hold. Guests began arriving at the venue, only to be told there was a delay. Laina sat by the window, watching the road that stayed empty. She tried calling Jonah again and again. Each ring ended the same. Her bridesmaids whispered in the hallway, their voices soft but not soft enough. "What if he got cold feet?" "No, he's not like that. But people change under pressure." Laina closed her eyes. She knew Jonah. She knew the steadiness of his heart. Something was wrong, something he didn't tell her. That realization cut deeper than fear. It felt like betrayal wrapped in mystery. By late afternoon, family members gently suggested postponing the ceremony. Her mother knelt beside her and took her hands. "Sweetheart," she said, "we should go home." Laina nodded, though her chest felt hollow. She left the venue quietly, avoiding the sympathetic glances that only deepened the ache. Back home, the sunlight dimmed into a muted gold. The house felt emptier now, even with people moving through it. Laina sat on the couch, hands folded tightly as though holding herself together. Her father paced the floor. "We should call the police," he said. "I already did," Marcus replied wearily from the doorway. "They said they'll file a report." Laina barely heard them. She was staring at the front door, willing it to open. "I don't understand," she whispered. "If something was wrong, he would have told me." "Maybe he was trying to protect you," her mother said softly. "From what?" Laina asked, but no one had an answer. The sky turned orange, then purple, then a deepening blue. Laina held her phone like a lifeline, checking it every few minutes, even though no messages came. The world seemed suspended between fear and disbelief. Then, just as exhaustion began pulling her down, the doorbell rang. Everyone froze. Laina stood slowly, her legs unsteady beneath her. She walked toward the door, her breath thin, her heart thrashing with hope and dread. She opened it with trembling hands. A man she had never seen stood on the porch. He looked young, barely past his 20s, with dark circles under his eyes and clothes wrinkled as if he had been running for days. He held 2 newborns, one in each arm, wrapped in soft hospital blankets. His voice shook when he spoke. "Are you Laina?" "Yes," she whispered. He swallowed hard. "I was told to find you if anything happened to Jonah." The world narrowed to a single fragile moment. "What happened?" she asked, her voice barely more than a breath. The stranger shifted, tightening his hold on the babies. "He said you'd know what to do." Laina stared at the twins, her heart breaking in ways she didn't yet understand. "What do you mean?" she asked. The stranger took a shaky breath. "These babies, they're the reason he disappeared." Laina stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the twins as though they held pieces of a truth she was afraid to touch. The stranger shifted his weight, exhaustion dragging at his posture, but he didn't look away from her. Something in his eyes carried the same quiet urgency she used to see in Jonah whenever he was afraid, but pretending not to be. "Come inside," Laina finally said, her voice thin but steady enough to guide him across the threshold. Her family stepped back, stunned into silence, watching as he entered the living room with the babies held protectively against his chest. He sat gently on the couch, lowering the infants onto a blanket Laina's mother quickly placed down. They were impossibly small, their breaths soft and fragile, as if they were unsure of the world they had arrived in. Laina stood across from the stranger, her hands trembling. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name is Eli," he said, rubbing a hand over his tired face. "Jonah helped me once. Years ago. He saved my life, I guess you could say. I owed him more than I could ever repay." "That doesn't explain this," Laina whispered, eyeing the babies. "Or why he disappeared." Eli looked down at them with a grief she didn't understand. He didn't disappear willingly, he said quietly, her breath caught. Then what happened? He hesitated, and something in that hesitation terrified her more than any answer could have. Before I tell you everything, he said gently, I need you to understand that Jonah wasn't living a double life. He wasn't lying to you. He was trying to keep you safe. The words stung because they didn't make the situation any clearer. Safe from what? She asked. Eli took a slow breath. The twins' mother. A ripple of shock moved through the room. Laina felt it like a physical blow, heat rushing to her face as she struggled to form words. What do you mean? She forced out. Are you telling me, Jonah? No, Eli said immediately, his voice firm. No, Laina, they're not his children. He never betrayed you. He stepped in because he was the only one who could help. Her knees weakened with relief she didn't want to feel. She sank into a chair, trying to ground herself. Then whose babies are they? Eli's eyes softened. Their mother was named Sarah. She came to Jonah 2 weeks ago, terrified and alone. She had run away from someone dangerous, someone who wanted these babies for reasons that had nothing to do with love. Laina felt a coldness wrap around her spine. What kind of danger? The kind that makes you change your name, your home, and your entire life, Eli said quietly. The kind you don't call the police about because you're not sure they can protect you. Laina stared at the babies, suddenly aware of how vulnerable they looked. Why did she come to Jonah? Because he worked with people who help women like her, Eli replied. Not officially, quietly, carefully. He never talked about it because people who do this kind of work, they don't want praise. They don't want attention. They just want to help. Laina's chest tightened. I knew he volunteered, but I didn't know it was like this. He didn't want you to worry, Eli said. But Sarah trusted him. She begged him to keep her safe. And he didn't tell me, Laina whispered. He looked me in the eyes every day and didn't tell me. Eli nodded, understanding the pain behind her words. He thought telling you would put you in danger too. She closed her eyes, forcing back tears. And the babies? Eli swallowed hard. Sarah didn't make it through the delivery. She was already weak when she arrived at the safe house. Jonah stayed with her the entire time. Her final request was that he protect them. Laina covered her mouth, shaken by the weight of it all. He must have been terrified. He was, Eli said. He told me he never felt so helpless. But he promised her he'd keep them safe. And when men started asking around for her, threatening people who knew her, Jonah realized the danger was closer than he thought. So he ran, Laina whispered. He didn't run, Eli said firmly. He hid them. He planned to bring you into it when it was safer, but something went wrong last night. He called me and said he didn't think he would make it to the wedding. He asked me to take the babies and find you if anything happened. Laina felt her heart crumble at the thought of his voice in those final hours, afraid. Hurried, still trying to protect her, her father stepped forward. Do you have any idea where he is now? He asked. Eli shook his head. All I know is that he was supposed to meet someone who had information about the men looking for Sarah, but after his call, nothing. The room felt heavier now, as if the walls themselves were absorbing the fear. Laina pushed to her feet and walked toward the babies. One stirred, making a soft, uncertain noise that pulled her toward them, even though she felt unsteady. They're innocent in all this, she murmured. I know, Eli said. That's why Jonah trusted you. He said you have a way of caring deeply, that you see people when others overlook them. Her throat tightened. She didn't know whether to cry or scream. I loved him, she whispered. I still do. And he left me on our wedding day with nothing but questions and danger. He didn't leave you, Eli said softly. He was trying to come back. The twins shifted again, one stretching a tiny hand toward the air. Laina touched the baby's fingers, surprised by how natural the gesture felt. Something warm flickered in her chest sphere. Yes, but also something that felt dangerously close to purpose. What happens now? She asked. Eli exhaled slowly. Now we try to find Jonah, and we protect the twins until we know who's still looking for them. Laina looked at him directly. Why are you helping us? Because Jonah helped me when no one else did, Eli said. And because if he's out there somewhere, he's counting on us. A quiet resolve began to take root in Laina. She wasn't sure where it came from, only that she felt it rising through the cracks in her heartbreak. She picked up one of the babies carefully, holding the tiny body against her chest. The infant's warmth seeped into her skin, grounding her in a reality that no longer made sense. She looked at her mother, her father, then at Eli. We're going to find him, she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Whatever it takes. Eli nodded. Then we start with the last place he went, and the people he trusted. Laina held the baby tighter, her heart aching but determined. She could still feel Jonah's presence and the softness of the blanket, in the trust he had placed in her without her knowing. She whispered, to herself more than anyone, you should have told me. But I'm here now, and I'm not giving up. Laina didn't sleep that night. She lay on the couch with one of the twins resting on her chest, listening to the soft rhythm of the baby's breathing. Each rise and fall reminded her how fragile everything had become. She watched the shadows stretch across the ceiling. Waiting for dawn to bring clarity, or at least the illusion of it. Eli sat across from her, hunched over his phone, scrolling through messages and contacts Jonah had trusted. His eyes were red from exhaustion, but there was a determined stillness in him, as if stopping would betray Jonah's trust. You should rest, Laina said quietly. So should you, he replied without looking up. She didn't argue. They were both clinging to the only thing that kept panic from swallowing them, the need to keep moving. When morning came, her parents helped settle the twins in the guest room. Laina kissed each tiny forehead before heading toward the door with Eli. She paused, looking back at the small bundles sleeping peacefully despite the chaos surrounding them. I don't want to leave them, she whispered. Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll protect them, she promised. Go find Jonah. Laina nodded, though worry tugged at her ribs. Outside, the air was cold and heavy with the kind of quiet that made every sound feel sharper. The city seemed unaware that her life had been split open. People walked their dogs, sipped coffee, waited at bus stops. Ordinary moments she used to take for granted now felt distant and unreachable. Eli led her to Jonah's car, still parked where Marcus found it. The interior smelled faintly like Jonah-cleaned soap and warm leather. She brushed her hand along the dashboard, trying not to fall apart. Anything out of place? Eli asked gently. Everything, she whispered. They began searching through the car. In the glove compartment, amid old receipts and maps, Laina found a folded piece of paper with her name on it. Her breath hitched. She opened it slowly, careful not to tear the edges. The handwriting was unmistakably Jonah's, steady, patient, thoughtful. Laina, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it back in time. I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you everything, but I couldn't risk putting you in danger. Please trust Eli. Trust yourself. And don't be afraid. I'm coming back to you. I promise. Laina pressed the note to her chest, tears slipping down her cheeks. He was scared, she whispered. He knew something was coming. Eli looked away, giving her a moment. He always blamed himself for things that weren't his fault. She closed her eyes, imagining Jonah writing those words, hoping she'd never have to read them. The ache was sharp and deep, a wound that felt too raw to touch. When she finally composed herself, she turned to Eli. What's next? We follow the trail he left, Eli said. He pulled out his phone. Last night, he messaged someone named Carson. They used to run a safe house together. Is he someone we can trust? Eli hesitated. Mostly, but Carson isn't gentle. He cares about results, not feelings. If Jonah reached out to him, he must have been desperate. Laina exhaled slowly. Then we go. They found Carson in a rundown warehouse on the edge of the city. The building looked abandoned, with broken windows and graffiti coating the walls. But the moment they stepped inside, Laina sensed a hum of activity beneath the stillness. Footsteps echoed faintly, doors creaked open and shut, and the air smelled of old wood and disinfectant. Carson emerged from a back room, wiping sweat from his forehead. He was tall, broad, and carried himself like someone who'd endured more than he'd ever admit. Eli, he said in a gravelly voice. Didn't think I'd see you again. We need information, Eli replied. About Jonah. Carson's expression tightened. He didn't show last night. Laina stepped forward. Do you know why? Carson studied her before answering. He said he had proof documents, messages, something big. Enough to shut down the people chasing Sarah. He was supposed to bring it to me. But he never made it, Eli said. No, Carson replied quietly. And that scares me. Jonah's cautious. If he didn't show, it means something forced him off the path. Laina swallowed hard. Do you know where he might have gone instead? Carson rubbed the back of his neck. There's another safe house he used sometimes. Out near the cliffs. It's isolated. Hard to find unless you know where to look. Then that's where we go, Laina said. Carson shook his head. I'm not letting you walk into that alone. If someone intercepted Jonah, they might be watching that place. Eli stepped between them. We don't have a choice. Carson sighed heavily. Fine, but if we're going, we go carefully. The drive to the cliffs took over an hour. As they neared the coastline, the sky turned overcast, casting the world in muted gray. The landscape grew sparse, just tall grass, worn earth, and the distant crash of waves that Carson led them down a narrow path toward a small cabin nestled between jagged rocks. It looked abandoned, weather-beaten, its windows fogged and cracked. Stay behind me, Carson warned. They approached slowly. Carson pushed the door open with the edge of his boot. The cabin was cold and dim, with dust coating every surface. Papers were scattered on a wooden table. A chair lay overturned. A lantern flickered in the corner, its flame struggling but alive. He's been here, Eli whispered, picking up a worn notebook. This is his handwriting. Laina walked to the table. Among the papers lay a photograph. Jonah standing beside a woman she didn't recognize. The woman was holding her pregnant belly, smiling faintly. That's Sarah, Eli said. Jonah must have kept this to show you. Laina felt another crack in her heart. His secrets weren't born from deception. They were born from compassion and fear. Carson crossed the room and picked up a small device. This is a tracker, he said. Broken. Probably smashed to avoid being followed. Laina turned toward the door, suddenly sensing movement outside. Her breath hitched. Did you hear that? Eli moved beside her. What did you? A soft rustling broke through the wind, followed by a faint thud. Carson raised a hand. Stay quiet. Footsteps approached slow, deliberate, dragging across the dirt. Eli reached for Laina, pulling her back just as an envelope slid under the cabin door. No knock. No voice. Just the envelope. Carson bent down, picked it up, and opened it cautiously. Inside was a single note. He read it once, then looked at Laina with an expression that chilled her. They know about the babies, he said. And they're coming for them. The room fell silent, fear settling like a weight they couldn't shake. Laina's heart clenched. We have to get back, she whispered. Now, Eli nodded, urgency rising in his voice. Your family isn't safe. Carson grabbed his jacket. Then let's move. Before they get there first, Lena's hands trembled as she stepped out into the cold wind, but her voice was steady. We're not letting anyone take them, she said. And we're not losing Jonah. The storm had begun long before she understood it, but now she was in the center of it, and she was done being afraid. The drive back to the house felt unbearably long. Wind battered the car as if trying to slow them down, and every passing minute sharpened the fear clawing at Lena's chest. She kept seeing the twins' tiny faces in her mind, imagining strangers creeping toward them, imagining danger slipping into the quiet safety of her home. She pressed her hand against the window, as if she could push the miles away with sheer will. Eli kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror. We'll get there in time, he said, trying to reassure her. Though the strain in his voice betrayed him, Carson remained tense, scanning the road behind them every few seconds. If they know about the babies, he said grimly, they already know more than they should. Laina swallowed hard. How? How could they know where we live? There are always leaks, Carson replied. People talk. Money talks louder. The thought made her stomach twist. She imagined Jonah trying to outrun the same people. She imagined him hiding in shadows, scared but determined. She tightened her hands in her lap, whispering to herself, hold on. We're coming. When they finally turned onto her street, Laina felt her heart skip painfully. The house looked normal quiet, still untouched. But that didn't ease her fear. Sometimes danger didn't announce itself. Sometimes it waited inside. They leaped from the car before it fully stopped. Laina ran up the walkway, fumbling with her keys, her breath frantic and uneven. She pushed the door open so quickly it slammed against the wall. Her mother hurried out of the living room, eyes wide. Lena, what's wrong? Where are the babies? Lena asked, almost trembling. In the guest room, her mother replied, they're fine. What's happening? Before Laina could answer, Carson moved past her, checking windows and corners with the precision of someone who'd lived too long in survival mode. Eli followed close behind. Her father stepped forward. Someone tell us what's going on. Later, Carson muttered, right now we make sure no one else is in this house. Laina didn't wait for the search. She rushed into the guest room where the twins lay sleeping peacefully in their bassinets. The sight brought instant tears to her eyes. She touched their small hands, relief washing through her. Heavy but fleeting. Eli approached quietly. They're okay? Yes, she whispered. For now. Carson entered the room a moment later. House is clear, he said. But we can't stay here. Not without warning. Laina looked at him, fear turning sharp. Where do we go? Somewhere no one knows about, Carson answered. A place even Jonah didn't use often. Her father frowned. We're just supposed to run? Carson turned to him. If they find this location, they'll come in numbers. And they won't care who they hurt. Silence filled the room like a cold draft. Laina looked down at the babies, realizing how small their world had been so far just blankets and warm arms. She couldn't let their next experience be fear. We need to move, she said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. Right now. Her mother's eyes softened with worry, but she nodded. Whatever you need. We'll help. Within minutes, they had packed essentials, diapers, bottles, blankets, and placed the babies gently into their carriers. Laina lifted one while Eli took the other. The weight of responsibility settled across her shoulders, heavy but grounding. As they stepped outside, a shiver ran through her. Something felt different. The air carried a tension she couldn't explain. Carson froze first. Wait, Eli stiffened. What is it? Carson pointed toward the side of the house. A tire marked fresh cut across the edge of the lawn. That wasn't there this morning, her father whispered. Laina felt her breath catch. Someone was here. Carson nodded. And they'll come back. The urgency became a tidal wave. They piled into the car, and Carson took the wheel this time, driving fast but controlled. Houses blurred by, trees bent in the wind. The sky felt too low, too heavy, pressing down on all of them. Halfway down the highway, Eli's phone buzzed. He looked at it, his face draining of color. It's Jonah. Laina turned, heart leaping. Answer it. He put the call on speaker. A low, strained breath filled the car, followed by Jonah's voice weak but unmistakable. Lie. I'm here, Eli said instantly. We're all here. Laina leaned closer, gripping the headrest in front of her. Jonah, she whispered. Where are you? There was a long, painful pause. When Jonah spoke again, his words trembled. Laina, I'm sorry. I didn't want this for you. Her eyes filled. Just tell me where you are. I'm at the old lighthouse, he said, voice fading in and out. I hid the evidence there. They found me. I tried to get away. Laina felt her heart drop. We're coming, she said fiercely. Don't move. Please don't move. Jonah managed a small, broken laugh. I couldn't if I tried. The call cut suddenly, leaving only silence. Carson gripped the steering wheel tighter. Hold on, he said. We're almost there. The lighthouse stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the restless ocean, its white paint chipped and worn by years of unrelenting wind. As they pulled up, Laina felt fear and hope clash inside her. She stepped out before anyone else, running toward the lighthouse door. It was cracked open, swaying slightly. Jonah, she called, her voice echoing through the open space inside. She found him sitting against a wall, his shirt torn, his face bruised, one arm cradled against his ribs. But he was alive. Relief struck her so intensely that her knees nearly gave out. She rushed to him, kneeling beside him. You're here, he whispered, eyes glassy but full of something soft and familiar. I didn't think I'd see you again. Laina pressed her forehead to his. Don't you ever disappear from me again? His hand trembled as it touched her cheek. I'm so sorry. Eli and Carson entered behind her, and Jonah looked at them with a mix of gratitude and guilt. Did you bring the babies? They're safe, Laina said. But we need to end this. Right now. Jonah nodded weakly. The evidence? In the box behind the lighthouse. Everything they've done. Everything they plan to do. Carson went to retrieve it, and when he opened the box, his eyes widened. This is enough to bury them. But before anyone could celebrate, the sound of approaching engines cut through the air. Eli's face paled. They're here. Jonah struggled to stand, and Laina helped him, wrapping her arm around him. We face them together, she said. Carson pulled out his phone, dialing a contact. I know someone who can get this evidence into the right hands. We just need to buy time. A group of men approached from the cliffside road, their silhouettes sharp against the fading light. But for the first time, Laina didn't feel like running. She felt ready. Jonah leaned into her. I'm sorry I tried to protect you by keeping you out of it. She held him closer. You didn't protect me, she said softly. You carried it alone. And you don't have to anymore. The confrontation was tense and dangerous. But with Carson's backup arriving and evidence secured, the men realized they were outmatched. They fled into the night, leaving behind the threat that had haunted Sarah. Jonah, and now the twins. Hours later, after the police secured the lighthouse and Jonah received medical care, Laina stood outside with him. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of how close they had come to losing everything. Jonah looked at her, eyes soft. I thought I ruined our future. She shook her head. No, You protected it without realizing I wanted to protect it with you. Eli approached, holding one of the babies while her mother held the other. Looks like we're all a family now, he said lightly. Jonah smiled weakly. A strange one, but ours, Laina whispered Dot as dawn broke over the horizon. Painting the world in gold, Laina felt hope rise for the first time in days. They had survived the storm, and now they could finally build something new.